Thank you so much for coming today. It's in a very exciting session. It's a brand new session that we prepared to showcase. And I think it is stemming from what we see in society today, what we see in our homes today, what we see in the workplace, which is people not being able to have those uncomfortable conversations and situations. And we're going to be exploring this today and come out with some strategies on how to approach them. So on the slide we have the session is interactive. So I'm going to reiterate, if you can have your cameras on, and I'm going to ask you some questions. So feel free to just unmute yourselves and speak to us. If you're not, if you can't do that today, it's not a problem. We can use the chat function as well for that matter. The content today is fictional. You might see some relation to what you see out there in society, in the workplace, but it's fictional. It's been developed by us. The session will last around 90 minutes. We're going to reserve 50 minutes at the end for some Q&A, for some feedback. We want to hear from you, what you thought of the session. We'll be using one of a live polling, which is Vvox. So at one point of the session, I'm going to ask you to get your phones out and scan. So you open your camera app and scan a QR code, and we do a live polling to get your thoughts on some issues. Keep a growth mindset. Some of the situations today are quite sensitive. We're going to have some trigger warnings as we go. Share your experiences. So please, it is interactive. Bring your whole self to the session today. And at the end, as I said, we're going to have a Q&A. Let me just take control of this, Becky. Thank you. Just trying to go forward. Don't think I can. Do you mind going to the next slide, Becky? What we have, so ABS is a framework that we use at the beginning of most sessions to start the conversation, to get why people come to the session, what are the aims that they come to have. So I know that the aims of today, most people, is to get to know this program, which I appreciate. That's why you're here. But I also want you to keep a mindset and just write down an aim. If you can use the chat function, it would be perfect. If you want in the session of navigating uncomfortable conversations as an employee, what would be your aim? What would you like to get from the session? So if you can just put that in the chat function for me, that would be perfect. Or you can speak up as well. You can get your mic off and speak to us. That's completely allowed. Perfect. It's starting to arrive now. So tips for line managers, I support on how to navigate uncomfortable conversations, to explore whether this session will be appropriate for some staff at university. Lovely. More confidence around safeguarding. So like how to support your team on those. I work in EDI where challenging conversations are extremely common, especially these days. So thank you for that, Dan. Absolutely. We're going to bring quite a lot of current situations that we have been seeing with a lot of our clients. So hopefully that will be something that will be very useful for all of us. How managers can have impactful conversations, build confidence of challenging staff who makes others feel uncomfortable. Absolutely, in a safe way, but also effective way. And then so we gather all the aims from everyone in the room. And then we'll talk about the barriers. What gets in the way, for example, of us having those effective, difficult conversations? What gets in the way of us being able to support our team around those issues? So instead of using the chat, you can continue to do it, but I would love to hear from you. If anyone would be happy enough to unmute themselves and talk to us, what is something that is challenging, that gets in the way of us being those leaders?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Hi, Matt.
Yeah, I think for me, it's that piece around expectations around managers, kind of having all the skills and tools to host these conversations. It's another thing that we're asking of them, and that can sometimes feel, it's just something else that they need to do, and just being able to encourage them to differentiate between being a therapist and being a manager.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing that. That is so deep what you're saying, because it does, you're asking them something more apart from the work, but also where is the line? Because there's some issues that comes up in the workplace that we're not prepared to deal with that. And what is in your company, what do they give as a support, but also how can we support them to support their team? We're gonna definitely have a look around that. So there's definitely a barrier. Thank you for that, Matt. What else gets in the way?
I was going to say, I think sometimes the managers are just not confident to have the conversations despite multiple, trainings. I mean, I can't tell you how many times we've had the conversations with managers and coached them through it, but it's just an uncomfortableness. It's just not a nice thing for them to have to
Yeah.
do, and it takes them out of their comfort zone, and that makes them avoid doing it.
Yeah, and thank you, Nina. I think it's interesting, isn't it? Because so you put in the work with those managers, you try to train them, but there's still the confidence isn't there. What do you think is missing?
I think sometimes it's role modeled across the organization. I think sometimes more senior managers are not having those conversations. So I think that can play out. And sometimes it's just people's lack of confidence, I think, to do that. Their relationships with the individual, they may kind of be friends. They've maybe early in their career where they've struggled to find that balance between, being friends with their team, and they're in that stage still. I think you quickly as a manager learn over the years of doing it that you have to have boundaries and barriers, but you can still
Yeah.
be a good, kind person, I think. But that's something that I think doesn't come naturally for everybody, particularly for managers that are starting out.
No, that's perfect. And I,
Yeah.
I think you brought so many layers as well around experience, and that's time. That's something that it comes with time. You can't replace that.
Mm.
And putting those boundaries, especially we see a lot in other sessions, obviously, but when your peers and your mates or colleagues that like each other, and the one of you gets promoted, and that creates a whole range of issues because you don't have those boundaries in place, especially if then the person that stayed behind now is doing things that you shouldn't. How to have that conversation.
Yeah.
So sorry. Thank you for that, Nina. That's very, very important. What else? What else? What gets in the way? I can see things from the chat here. So concerns around relationships might be damaged. Absolutely, yeah. Lack of knowing what they can and cannot say at work, what's appropriate. There's a lot of the sessions that we do is around, Jules, just give me a glossary. What can I say? What can't I say? And the thing is, we can't tell you what it is exactly. We can have discussions around it. That's why I think experiential learning is so powerful around those issues, because we show it and we ask people to bring some opinions and think about the consequences of that. So there isn't a right or wrong, but depending on the person you're speaking to, the culture of the company, and who you are, that will have a different consequence. So it's very useful to think about that. Um, Increasing demands, people should always come first, but it's sometimes hard for leaders and managers to prioritize well-being of their people over everything else that's going on. So a lot of pressure coming from above, those issues might not be the priority. Fear of confrontation, to be honest, there's a lot of things that we have in our personal life that we take into work, fear of conflict. So we're definitely going to be speaking about that today. What's missing is practical experience. It's all well and good understanding how to do something on paper, but it's different to applying it. Some of that comes from just experiencing it. Jawanza, thank you so much for that comment. I think it's a beautiful thing because experiential learning is all about experiencing it. It's a safe way that we can experience a real issue, real people, but with no consequence. All that we do here is just create some muscle memory around those issues and those conversations, and we can take that experience and thoughts and strategies out there into the world. So then we go into solutions. Solutions, we build this board with everyone in the room throughout the session. So throughout the exercises, we're going to build here some strategies on how to deal with each one of those issues. And I have to say, today is a showcase. We only have 90 minutes, but my session is going to be around 75 minutes. Normally, this full session is around 2.5 hours. So forgive me if I'm rushing at times and I say we don't have time. It's only because we want to show you a bit of what we do without the full session time that allows us. So thank you for having these conversations. That's how we're going to be leading the session. And what I'm going to do now is actually introduce you to some of our characters, this real people that we built, which is Claire and Bailey. And the themes that we're going to be looking at today is awareness, empower, and reflecting and discuss. I'm not going to really get into this here today because of time, so I'm just going to move us on to meeting Claire and Bailey. Claire, are you there? Bailey, are you there?
I'm here.
You're on mute, Claire, sorry. Always happens. Hello. Hi, Claire. Hi, Bailey.
Hi.
Hi, good morning. So I'm just going to ask you to introduce yourselves to us.
Shall I go first? I'm Claire. I'm a team leader, but I'm also part of the ERG team. I live in Chester in the UK. Outside of work, I'm very involved with my family. I love to walk in the hills. I have a dog, and we love to go on family walks. And fun fact that people might not know about me. I used to work as a goat herd when I was a teenager, and I had a herd of 75 Angora goats to look after.
Wow, that is a fun fact. Thank you so much, Claire. What about you, Bailey?
Hello, everyone. I'm Bailey. I'm a team leader, and I'm also part of the ERG team. I live in San Francisco with my cat Bundles. Outside of work, I love to cook. I like to, romanticize as being a chef one day, maybe. I don't know. But I guess a fun fact about me is that I've won at least 3 hot dog eating contests.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bailey. That is a real good fun fact. So now you got the introductions to our characters. Now at this point, I just ask people to really pay attention because I'm going to ask them, these two leaders, quite a lot of questions around their leadership style. So again, just have a look at it, take mental notes on what they say, because after we finish this interview, as you may, I'm going to ask you what your thoughts on it. Okay, so Claire, how do you find being a people leader?
Great. Yeah, I'd say I have a very good relationship with the team. For me, it's really important to be clear. Clarity is everything. So know where you stand. That really matters. If something is off, then I try to deal with it quickly and move forward from that quickly. So I suppose my motto would be, don't overthink it.
Great. Thank you so much, Claire. What about you, Bailey? How do you find being a people leader?
Yeah, I really like the role, and I care a lot about the staff. I want people to feel heard and treated fairly. If there's an issue, I really like to find out all the details, like all the details, and ensure sure I have all the facts. Yeah.
Right, thank you. Claire, what is your go-to response for navigating a difficult conversation?
Nobody enjoys difficult conversations, do they? But I think it's really important to tackle things head on. Don't mess about, get it over and done with. So I would say what needs saying early on. I'd miles rather have an awkward 10 minutes than let something drag on for weeks and weeks.
Okay, Thank you. Bailey, what is your go-to response for navigating a difficult conversation?
Try to avoid it as long as possible. No, no, I'm just joking. No, I try to be as prepped as I can, but that takes time. I need time to gather things up and run it all through my head and plan my words. I do feel anxious about how the other person might react. I can be a bit of an over talker as well. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the honesty as well. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Claire, what leadership qualities are important to you?
Being decisive is really important. You're paid to make decisions. Honesty, and having a bit of backbone, not being afraid to speak up.
Okay. Thank you. Bailey, what about you? What leadership qualities are important to you?
Empathy and fairness. I value a leader who listens and allows people to think for themselves.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your views on that. So I'll just let you go for a second, because now what I want to do, I want to hear from everyone. What's your impressions? Who relates to Bailey? Who relates to Claire? So just come off mute and speak to us.
I relate to Claire big time.
Hi, Elaine. Hi,
It's
Elaine.
the only way. It's the only way.
Talk to me. What do you relate to Claire? What would you like about?
I think you're just kicking the can down the road. I think I agree with her, analogy there that an awkward 10 minutes is far better than dealing with something that could go on for days, weeks, or even beyond that. And I think it shows strength as a leader to be able to deal with it, walk away, and put it to bed.
Okay, so have that backbone, as she
Absolutely.
said. Absolutely. Thank you, Elaine. Who else? What else? Who do you relate to?
Sorry, firstly as well, apologies I was late, but got caught up with something else.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely would not want to tell enough from Claire. That would have me running for the hills for sure. But then equally, I don't think I think Bailey maybe might be a little bit wishy-washy as a leader, but I think we need to hit a middle ground. I think Claire's approach is to I mean, sometimes you do need to sit down and think about the situation. You do need to think about what's going on around. We're not counsellors, we're not, any of that. But I think that just, that 10-minute awkwardness could absolutely ruin your relationship with that person permanently.
Okay, so a bit more of trying to see both sides there. And Michelle, 100%, we're going to try to find this middle ground. But it's interesting, isn't it? When we see someone saying things that really hit with us and we find that affinity with them. And it's quite interesting in these sessions because we get people to show the other side. We get to share both perspectives at all times. And that's a very good place to be. So thanks, Michelle. I can see Mike with a hand up. Thank you, Mike.
Well, Michelle's already said about a middle ground. I think she's quite right. I don't think there's any value in having a 10-minute conversation with someone quickly on your understanding of what the situation is, when what you could end up doing is making something much worse. So yeah, if you don't act on something, the situation could end up as an open file in your head, for anyone who knows the Zeigarnik effect, forever, which is not good and why prevarication is not good. But if you rush into a response, and particularly a hot reaction, ex-teacher, never lose your temper, never, ever. And I know that's not what's been said here, but sometimes it can be a very quick, this needs to be done. I think it's a balance between the two. Bailey said about having information, be armed in the right way, know what it is or where the other person's coming from, and ask questions first, I think.
Yeah. And it's so interesting, isn't it? You're saying about Bailey really asking that question and then Claire coming across as more of a direct person, as you're saying, that 10 minutes can ruin the relationship. We don't know. That's the complexity of humans. If we had a formula and a manual on how to deal with human beings, will be great. So we're here to find that nuance. Simona, talk to us, your impressions.
Hi everyone. Yes, yeah, great answer from Mike there. I think also being, if you're going to be delivering something, yeah, prep is key, but also being in the right place to do it yourself. So if you're like prep yourself to be able to deliver what it is that you need to be delivering. So check in with yourself first as well. So how are you feeling? Say if you need to be delivering something, a different conversation, prep yourself so that you're ready to do it in a right way, that it might, hopefully doesn't come out aggressive, or if you're not having a bad day, so yeah, prep is absolutely key.
Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm not on chat at all times, so please do come out and say, because I saw prep is key. Emotional intelligence, Simone, I'm getting from you, of
Yeah.
you having the self-awareness and where am I right now?
Mm,
Am I in the
mm,
best headspace and emotional space, heart space to have this conversation? Also, there's another layer that we do speak, especially in the bigger session. We do get a lot around what is my narrative around that person? What's my relationship with them that have been for years? And what do I think of them? They're going to do it. Yeah, they're just like that. All the assumptions, they get in a way of really good, honest, curious conversations. So thank you for that, Simona. Nina, hello.
Yeah, I was just going to say the person receiving the feedback will also have a preference of how they like to be dealt with. So some people will prefer a Claire, to your point, and some people will prefer a Bailey, depending on who you are as an individual. So I think knowing the person that you're giving that feedback to and how they like to receive information, and how, the value that they place on honesty, getting to the point really quickly, don't beat around the bush. You'll know that about those individuals if you know your team well enough. And I think that is a consideration. But I also think, going back to the point before, and that was that I can see both of them in terms of, I think when I was new starting out in leading people, I think that definitely was more the Bailey, approach. And I think, like you say, you then learn that sometimes, when are those occasions when you absolutely need to be more Claire,
Yeah.
and that's, so yeah, there is a balance to be had.
Absolutely, Nina. There's really good points there. The adaptability of a leader and knowing your people. How does that person likes to be talking to? Who are they? What are their communication style? How can I adapt my style to get closer to them? Do they like 10-minute conversation? Do they like to go straight into the point? Do they like to have a bit more chit chat at the beginning? And I'm sure that all your companies also have the layer of being either global companies, or you have quite a diverse workforce that comes from different cultures. That really plays into it as well. Things that might be considered as respectful in one culture might be abrupt in another, or might be dismissive in another. So also having the layer of getting to know where people from, what their preferred method. I can see loads of stuff on the chat. So let me just have hi. So John's, I'm hyper aware. I have recently been diagnosed with autism, of how I might be perceived when having difficult conversations. And I'm sure many people from different life experiences also feel sometimes an additional dynamic they have to consider. Perfect. Put up there, because again, it might be culture, it might be neurodivergent, might be different life experiences. We also need to consider that we're not going to get it right all the time, and that's absolutely human and absolutely fine. But the question is, have you created that environment when, if someone makes a mistake, we can have a dialogue, an honest dialogue about it, and repair. Prep is key. Do your homework. The length of the short meeting depends on the issue to be raised. Assertiveness with a sprinkle of empathy. Thank you, Anthony. Lovely that. Yeah. There's a lot here about the difference between being nice and being kind. If you're being nice, you may be leaving out important things that will not just benefit you, but also the other person who might not value being told, not told crucial things. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mike, for this added thought here. And thank you. That's the kind of interaction we have throughout the session. I'm going to move us on because of time, because we can spend a lot of time here. But what I'm going to ask for you to do now is the polling, the live polling. So I'm going to ask you to get your phones out. I know it's a bit counterintuitive. People tell you to be phones off. So I'm just going to ask you to open your camera app. And when you open your camera app, you can point to the slides that should be soon. Sorry, Becky, thank you. Just point to the QR code on the slide here, and it should take you to a link. So I'm going to give you a minute to do that. The VVox is a really good way of getting a data, live data in the room. And also we will send it all back at the end of the session so you can have it as a report. So is really good data for you as well. Is everyone in? Yeah, you should see just a first page. Okay, let's move us on. Let's open the poll, Becky, please. So you should be on your screen now. In the last 12 months, which of the following, if any, have you experienced or witnessed at work? So you can, it's a multiple choice, so you can pick, I think, up to 3. Once you've picked, press send, so we can have that response with us, please.
You can pick up to 8 actually on this one. So just so you know.
Nice.
So yeah, lots of
Thank
options.
Thank you, Helen. Lovely. So up to 8. So in the last 12 months, which of the following, if any, have you experienced or witnessed at work?
And just a reminder that you might have to scroll to the bottom of the page to click that send button as well.
Thank you. Yeah, so we've got some questions coming and some answers coming in. And this is all anonymous, by the way. We don't know who's sending, so it's all safe. Be as honest as you can, please. Great. So we can go to the next page of the results. Becky, please. Let's have a look. Oh, wow. Okay. So this is the responses we got from now. So we've got conflict avoidance, ignoring issues, looking the other way as the winner, right? And right after that is poor teamwork, uncooperative, or disruptive behavior as a close second. Microaggressions or everyday incivility, intolerance of different opinion, beliefs, and behaviors, which is interesting. This is what the session is all about here, isn't it? The different opinions and how to deal with it. Let's go to the next question, please. In the last 12 months, which of the following, if any, have you done at work? So now having a look at yourself and being quite honest, what might you have done in the last 12 months? Again, just remember to hit send at the end. Great. Becky, you can go to the results page because it should push through all the answers, please. Let's have a look. That's just very interesting. So we've got a lot of none of the above. Conflict avoidance, ignoring issues, looking the other way. First, thank you for your honesty. But how interesting. No one have done any exclusion. No one have humiliated, being hostile, and had abusive behavior. I'm not doubting you on this, but those things happen at work. So if you ask the whole company, have you been humiliating people? Have you been excluding people? The first thing they're going to say is absolutely not. I would like to hear your thoughts on that. We see humiliating behavior at work. We see abusive behavior at work and exclusion. But why most people would never say that they are being excluding or humiliating people at work? What's up with that? So Nicole, often exclusion may be unintentional or are not aware that they are being, possibly, yeah? What else? We're on the chat now, so people see things from their own perspectives, so they don't see them in that light. Human beings are complex, aren't we? That what we perceive as exclusion behavior or abusive behavior, it's very hard to see on ourselves. So it's also creating that self-awareness that we all might be doing things that might affect others, and being open to be challenged on those. Most people like to think of themselves as good, not necessarily checking in with how they are perceived. And absolutely, and I think one thing that we really hit in these sessions, which is very uncomfortable, is to think about assumptions. When you do something that hurts someone, we think we're good, we didn't intend to do it. If we see that behavior happening with someone else, we might think, oh, look at them being abusive. So it's how to have that dialogue and conversation, and going into those conversations being curious with an open mind and what might be happening for them. Let's go to the next question, please, Becky. How confident, if at all, do you feel about navigating uncomfortable conversations at work? Okay, most are in. Thanks, Becky. Let's see the results. Okay, so we got an average of 3.2. So quite in the middle here. Great, thank you. Thank you for your honesty. We're going to be looking at how to be more confident by the end of the session. Thank you. Next question. I think this is the last one. Have you avoided having an uncomfortable conversation with someone you work with or not? And we can push through now, Becky. Thank you. Yes, no. Lovely. Thank you so much. So you can put your phones down for now, and the slideshow as well, Becky. Thank you so much. So thank you for your honesty, and it's interesting. In the bigger session, we have a few more questions, and just from the answers that we give through VVox, we can start uncomfortable conversations in the room as well, which is a great place to have. But for now, we're going to go back to our story, to Claire. So we're going to have a look at Claire and her world, her team member. we're going to forget a bit about Bailey at the moment. Bailey, we're going to take the space now. We're going to transform Bailey into Harry. So excuse me for this, but yeah, so Jacques, our actor, is going to become Harry, who is part of Claire's team. So Claire, are you there? You're on mute again.
Sorry, on mute. Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Hello. So would you mind telling us what's been going on?
Well, I've had a message from Harry to say that he'd like to see me. I don't know what it's about, but he said that he could do with a chat with me.
Okay. Okay. So just to clarify, you're his manager, correct?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's a good member of staff. He's very good.
Perfect. Well, let's have a look how this conversation went. Thank you.
Hey, Claire, it's now a good time for that chat.
Yeah, yeah. So, what is it, Harry?
Look, maybe I'm being paranoid, but I feel like the team seems a bit off with me.
Oh, they're off. How?
Well, ever since I didn't support the pride signature thing, it's like everyone's just giving me the cold shoulder, you know? You understand?
Right. So, you opted out and now people are reacting. Can I ask why didn't you take part?
Look, with all due respect, I've got my reasons, you know.
Okay. Well, Harry, I'll be honest, this kind of thing does matter to a lot of people.
Okay, I'm not trying to upset anyone. I just didn't want it on my signature. I didn't say anything against it.
Okay. Well, listen, I know you didn't mean to offend anyone. Look, just keep your head down for now. Honestly, these things will blow over.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Thank you, Harry. I'll let you go for a second for now. Okay, I'd like to hear from you. How was that conversation? What did you think? What if they don't tell me more, Mike. Tell me more about that. What's your impression?
My impression is it's being pushed away.
So it's been pushed away by Claire.
Yeah.
What makes you think that? What does she say or do that makes you think she
Exactly
pushed?
what she said about the keep your head down, these things will blow over. That's not a professional thing to do. And it means he's going to do the same thing again.
Okay,
And you will have the same chat again and it'll go round and round.
yeah. So nothing is resolved from that conversation.
No.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mike. What else? Karen, hello.
Hello. She really sort of blamed him for it. He sort of said, well, you know, that's what's going to happen. There was no empathy or ownership on her part as the leader of that team to see that that's an acceptable behaviour and that she needs to support him with that. It was very much, well, you know, you didn't, you know, well, you immediately, well, why didn't you? It's the moment you start with, well, why didn't you? You're going to get some defensive behaviour and you're basically saying that it's their fault, or that's the intonation.
Yeah, because why didn't you is an open question, but the why makes us think there's a little hand saying, why didn't you? You done something wrong. So is it almost like a telling off? So that's definitely how it felt. What else? What else do we get from impression on this conversation? Having a look at the chat here as well. So Amy, dismissive. Elaine as well, lack of empathy and dismissive. Michelle, difficult. Michelle, do you mind if I ask you what was difficult about this?
I think if someone was to come to me with that issue, I would find that really difficult because it would almost so Harry's lack of desire to add his signature to that particular thing probably would have actually affected my own values as well and my own paradigm. So I would have felt quite difficult having that conversation with him, because I may well have come across as being quite, well, why didn't you want to do that? Why? What is it about that has offended you? And I think that conversation might end up then inadvertently offending me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very easy to say leave yourself at your home self, your own beliefs at the door, and then you come into work. But our own experiences, they kind of leak into work. And I can't remember who said about I think it was Simona saying about emotional intelligence. When you see that happening in front of you, you might get angry, you might get frustration, you might get all sorts of feelings that are not very helpful when you decide to have that conversation. And to be honest, we are here talking about is what we call sincerely held beliefs, right? And we're going to figure out more about each of the characters. But I could see more stuff coming into the chat here. So didn't have a resolution. I would have asked, how can I help you with this? What can you do differently? Absolutely, Nicole. Thank you. We're going to get into a part where we work together with everyone to have a better conversation. Not an awful lot of empathy from Claire's part. I completely understand. And a lot of people care about this. Almost comes across as a shaming tactic. I completely hear that. Look, I'm honestly, I've been asking to have a lot of assumptions, make a lot of assumptions about these characters. I want to give you the opportunity to actually have a conversation with them. So I'm going to bring back one at a time, because we've spoken a lot about Claire and her lack of empathy. Claire, are you here?
I'm here, yes.
Hello. Thank you for coming back. We've witnessed that conversation you had with Harry. I'm going to give the opportunity to everyone ask a question to Claire, but I'll kick us off. Claire, how was that conversation for you?
It wasn't great. This is something that I feel really strongly about, and I was really proud that the company had picked an email signature for Pride Month. I think that the conversation caught me off guard, and I think my personal feelings came out a little bit too much. And so I think that probably came across to Harry.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
it wasn't great.
That's okay. Thank you for your honesty. Everyone here, what would you like to know from Claire? You can ask her directly. And just unmute yourselves and speak to her directly. What would you like to know? Yeah.
Claire, what do you think you would have done if you could replay that situation? What would you do differently?
It's really hard because it's quite a tricky subject. So if I don't want people to think I'm homophobic, so I don't want to be taking Harry's side if Harry is coming across as homophobic, but I also don't want there to be hostility in the team. So I really struggled with how to I'm pretty direct, and I think maybe I was a bit too blunt with him, but I also don't want to die on the hill of backing him if it's going to alienate the rest of the team. And especially I know that there are people in that team who feel very personally invested in the Pride Month initiative.
Okay.
Thank you, Nina. Who else would like to ask her a question? Hi, Mike. I've seen your facial expressions. Agreeing to a chat without knowing the context of that chat is potentially dangerous for a leader and team member. What do you think of that, Claire?
Yeah, I probably maybe should have spent a little bit of time listening to him and then considering and maybe bringing him back when I'd had a little bit of time to think about it. Yeah, I also, you know, as a leader, it's my responsibility to respond to what's happening in the moment. I can't just push it into the long grass. That's not okay for him, and it's not okay for the people who feel maybe offended by what he's done. And so I went into it, maybe didn't get all of the information that I should have got, but I thought I was doing the right thing by dealing with it there and then.
Absolutely. No, and I think, sorry, honestly, if you don't mind, Claire, you're saying that it's something that you got, I don't think the word that you used was emotional, but it was very close to your heart.
Yeah.
Would you mind explaining a little bit more to us?
Well, my son is gay, and I think I felt the pride of our organisation saying that we would do something which was a very public statement of support for Pride Month. I know that there are people in my team who are LGBTQ plus, and I think that it's really important that they feel that as a leader I support them. It's the law for me to support them, so I have a legal responsibility. You know, it's a protected characteristic under the Equalities Act, so and there's a moral responsibility there to support people, you know, and so there was that combination of the weight of responsibility and my own personal views.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Claire. I appreciate your honesty and also your courage and openness to talk to us. So I'll let you go for a second now. So she was talking about the law, and then is the law to support. And the thing is, we have protected characteristics here. So sexual orientation is one of the 9 protected characteristics we have. I think I would suggest that your business doesn't mandate that so much. Yes, I'll let her know. I'm sure. We have to respect those. The law doesn't make us be forced to support them outwardly. We need to respect them. So they're protected by law to respect, and that's when the law comes in. If you have a claim that it has been a hate crime or anything that might cross the line of respect, then that's where we get in trouble. I want us to give it the opportunity to have a look at the other side. I want to have a chat with Harry. Harry, are you there?
Hey, I'm here.
Hello. Hi, Harry. I'm sorry to say we witnessed that conversation that you had with your manager, Claire. How was that conversation for you?
To be honest with you, it felt pretty pointless. I felt like I got nothing from it. I feel like she gave me no kind of rope to feel, I guess, safe with you know, with the views that I have, my own personal views. But you know, I've been working at this company for years now, one of the senior staff members. So you know, I guess I'll just keep things moving and just hopefully there'll be some sort of like opportunity for me to feel like I'm part of the team again. Because right now I don't feel like I'm part of the team.
Okay, thank you so much, Harry. Again, I'm gonna open up for anyone that would like to ask him a question. What would you like to know? It's a bit harder on this. Amelia is asking you, Harry, what would you have liked to have seen?
Well, I mean, if the company's about being inclusive and tolerant and accepting of all people and all cultures and what have you, I mean, I'd like to have, my religious beliefs be seen and be included in everything else. I don't want to like clash with anyone's background or anything like that. We all should be accepting of people's backgrounds and beliefs and everything. I don't expect for everyone to go to church on Sundays like I do. If they don't go there, okay, that's fine. But where I'm from and what I believe is, we're all people. We all should, care for one another, and that's what I want to see with the company. For the company to just care about everyone, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identification, um, background, race, religion, all that. We're together in this. That's what I hope.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Amelia. What else? What else would you like to know? You can ask him anything within reason, obviously, but you can ask him anything. You can put him in the chat, and then I can ask him. Hi, Dan, thank you. How did it feel when you heard that lots of people care about this? So when Claire, having that conversation with you, said a lot of people care about this, how did you feel, Harry?
I mean, that's fine. I understand that people care about Pride Month and supporting the LBGT. I'm sorry, I don't know that name, but the organization, the group. I mean, I'm not closely related to that. I don't have like a close association with it, but if they care about it, that's great. It's just that I mean, they can do that. It's just that it's just not for me, honestly. I just I don't know too much about it. I just know that like I have my own beliefs, and I just want like everyone to just accept each other like I accept them, and the fact that they care about this.
Okay.
It's not my thing. That's all.
Okay. I have a question here. Have you shared your beliefs with your colleagues, and are they aware how you feel? Is it worth sharing with them? If yes, how can Claire help you communicate with the team? It's a lot of questions they can't think of. Let me just say, have you shared your belief with your colleagues, and are they aware how you feel?
No, I haven't. I'm one of those religious people that don't shove my religion down people's throats because I know that's not there. My mom is actually that type. She'll, shove the Bible down your throat if you don't believe. Oh, you're going to hell. She's like that. And I think that's wrong. So I don't really share my religious beliefs with people at work. I just try to be an example of what my religion teaches. Just be a good neighbor, be a good steward, and everything. That's why I've been here for such a long time, because, I feel like, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I'm the best at that. But I never felt I needed to like share my religious beliefs unless someone asks, and I'll be more than happy to share and talk about it and maybe invite them to church one day.
Okay. Harry, thank you so much. I'll let you go for now. Sorry that I didn't get Joanne to ask your question, and Nina, that you just brought it in just for time. On the bigger session, we have enough time to really dig deep into what's happening for each side. And just to let you know, this interview, this hot seat that we call, is a great exercise to train teams on how to ask open, curious question. So that's why we talk about experiential learning. It's not only to find out what's happening for them, it's a great way to exercise how we ask in those questions. So I'd like to hear your thoughts very quickly now. What was surprising about now hearing from both sides? What did you learn? You can put it in the chat as well if you don't want to get. Oh, hi, Karen.
Hi, sorry, I don't have the chat function. I don't know
I
why
don't.
it's not come up. But I was just going to say that both are coming at it with positive intent.
Yeah. So that, yeah, we got to see the positive intent of both people.
Yeah. The result might not be on both, but the intention is there.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? We saw a car crash of a conversation, but now we actually see that they both had really positive intent in those. Nicole, they both have deeply held values, but not sharing them with each other in that conversation. Thank you so much, Mike. Lovely. Thank you. So what I'm going to ask you to do now, obviously we're going to have a look at how to have a better conversation, but I'm going to have you put in the chat function or share with us. I want you to write down one piece of advice that you have for Claire. And we have here on the slide a couple of questions that I want you to think about. So take a couple of minutes to think about it, and how can we bring that up for Claire as an offering on how to approach this conversation, this issue. Then feel free to share this on the chat function, or even just raise your hand or unmute your mic and talk to us. What are the advice you would give to Claire if you're in their shoes?
Yeah, I think that when a team member requests time with you without context and you're just walking into something completely blindly, I think you're not always going to come to a mutually satisfying agreement, are you? Because, sometimes having to, think in that moment and deal with that, and particularly an issue like that, can be very difficult because, as we've already said, you've got to kind of ratify your own feelings and emotions around it as well. I don't know that I've got any advice, but because that's why I'm here. But I think that
Yeah.
I think that if I was in her shoes, I don't know, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because if somebody just pops some time in with me, then I'm like, yeah, of course. I've got an open door policy. If I can do it, I'll do it. But I do think that those kinds of things, just you just need to kind of just like call a stop, don't you? And just think, just stop for a moment and just think, wow, how am I going to deal with this? And I don't think you can get to the bottom of it straight away. Have I made any sense? I probably haven't.
No, I know.
Because I don't know what I'd do if I was her. I'd probably be more Claire. I'd be like, but why? Why don't you want to? What's wrong with you? You horrible person. That's what I think.
Look, our sessions is all about honesty as well. It's great to have a moment where we say, look, I don't know, my default is this, and we're here to learn how to possibly do it another way. And I think it goes back to what we were saying before. How aware of your default mechanism? How aware are you on how you feel about it? How aware are you on how you would normally react to that person specifically, to that belief that might trigger something in you? And what do you need to do to take a moment, take a beat, and don't go straight into that conversation? So thank you for that, Michelle. It's a perfect positioning on this. So we have advice coming through the chat. Use descriptive questions to explore how Harry is feeling. For example, Harry, can you tell me more about how you're feeling about the situation? So like probing a bit more with an open question. Know that why, but there's how you're feeling about this. Actively listen to him. Elaine, would you mind explaining a little bit more about what you mean about active listening? Because it's something really important, but I think it's great to be quite clear. What does it mean to active listen to someone?
Yeah, I think it's something that we don't necessarily all do particularly well, but you can hear somebody. Listening is a completely different skill, but actively listen. So to reflect back to him how you're understanding what he is saying, I think is crucial, because I think Claire was probably understandably came in quite reactive, made an immediate response without actually sort of digging a little bit deeper and trying to explore what he was trying to say. Because sometimes the way it's said isn't always the way it's received. So it's really to be clear that as the recipient, am I hearing you right? Is this what you're trying to tell me? That's what I'm trying to say by actively listen. Yeah.
It's lovely. It felt really good now that you said it. Yeah. It's checking in. Yeah, great way of putting this out there. Most communication conflicts come from that. What I meant to say didn't land the same way in you. And then we go away thinking I was very clear. I said my bit. They heard it. They should know. And then we go different ways, and then things happen. And also think about when someone is speaking to you, we tend to be thinking about what we're going to respond to them at the same time they're talking to us, and having the ability to literally just listen to them. It's really important to take that mind, not think about what you're going to say. So there's quite a bit more. So there was something about that stood out to me that Harry Bailey's the other character. Thank you, Joanza. Yeah, said in that they said I don't know much about that, but then has very clear views on the matter, which leads to me to question if there has been any conversation about what the organization is doing, why it's doing it, etc. And is there space for the staff to discuss or question what's happening before decisions are being made? Thank you for that. Yeah. If I think Claire had that conversation, she would know more about that, 100%. Ask more questions to understand how they're feeling. You can agree on how they feel and how to navigate those feelings without needing to agree on what caused the situation. Thank you, Amelia. Well, so we normally have a bit more time to have that discussion and come up with quite a lot of suggestions to give to Claire. I can see Claire taking notes there, but I'm going to offer as well a model that we have, which is called CARE. And you're going to see a lot of the things you already told me, which is beautiful. It shows how empathetic you already are. So the C stands for finding that common ground at the beginning of that conversation. Where can we find the similarities between us? Where can we agree on things? The A stands for ask, don't assume. As you've been saying, ask those open questions. Really try to probe on how he's feeling. What has his experience been with the group? Trying to figure out what conversations have been happening. The R stands for reveal your perspective. Then you can share your point of view on what's been happening. Yeah, and then exploring next steps. We might not be able to go through care in one conversation. You might need to spend a bit on the C and the A. Depends how serious the situation is, but then go and have another conversation to go through the R and maybe the E. So you have to make that judgment call. So what we're going to see now, we're going to see another version of this conversation, and I want you to really pay attention. So on where she's using the care model, where she's using the C, where she's using the A, where she's using the R. And then I'm going to ask you some questions at the end of that. So let's have a look on how this version of the conversation went. Thank you.
Hi, Harry. I just wanted to check in. How do you feel about having a chat? How are you feeling?
Yeah, that might be good actually. It's becoming quite difficult. I feel like I'm being excluded.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Look, it's really important that all of our team feel included and supported, and that includes you, Harry. So, would you be able to share with me what's been going on?
Well, obviously it's Pride Month and there are different initiatives. I've decided not to include the Pride banner on the bottom of my emails. Starting to hear certain comments though from people like, he's stuck in the past, stuff like that. I've been hearing.
Okay, well, I can hear that sounds tough for you. How is your relationship with the team normally?
mean, yeah, like I've been getting along fine with everyone. I've had, so many people that I've just been best friends with, here on the team and company. We all were getting along fine, but now it just feels like everyone's avoiding me.
Okay. So I just want to say that, as you know, the Pride Initiative is optional. So I want to be clear that you are entitled to your personal beliefs. If you choose not to change your email signature, that is your prerogative. I'm clear that if you express that prerogative, then that should be respected.
Thank you. Thanks. Honestly, I just want to say that I'm not homophobic or anything like that. I just I feel disingenuous displaying something like that, on my emails.
It sounds like there might be some more work needed. How would you feel if I address this with the team, Harry?
Um, I don't want to make a big deal of it.
Okay. Well, I understand that, but actually, I think the team might benefit from a conversation, maybe more generally. I can talk to the team about a general respect for personal beliefs, and I don't have to name you. How would you feel about that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure.
Harry, we can also check in next week, maybe to see how things are going, if there's been any improvement, if things have settled down. But in the interim, before next week, please do feel free to come and speak to me if anything else happens. It's really important that I know.
Okay. Claire, thank you so much. Thank you so much for hearing me out. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Harry.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Claire and Harry. Thoughts, I'd like to hear from you. What's your impression of this version of the conversation? I see some interesting faces. I want to hear from you. What's your thoughts? What's your impressions?
I think it's just being supportive of both, isn't it? Harry quite clearly has his beliefs. Claire was Claire was very good in not sharing her beliefs, but also that actually it is a choice, and he's chosen not to, and that's his choice. And also to raise the awareness with others that actually, maybe the initial messaging has gone a little bit awry because maybe people didn't think it was a choice, and maybe they thought that they had to, maybe.
Yeah. And no, I appreciate that, Michelle. That was definitely it felt much better. We can feel it when seeing that conversation that she asked some open questions. Where did you see the care model coming out? So we have the C for finding that common ground. We have the A for asking, not assuming. We have the R as like raising your perspective, your concerns, and the E for the next steps. Where do we see that? I can see some people writing on the chat. Much better, Amelia. Thank you. Yeah, much better than the first version and supportive of the fact that there are different beliefs that are in play. And religious beliefs as well is one of the 9 protected characteristics here. So he is entitled to his belief and shouldn't be harassed or bullied or excluded from having those beliefs. And Debbie, much better, supportive, but placing an expectation on what behavior and dynamic is expected within the team. So I love that. There's more clarity around what the expectation is. Anthony, much more controlled and structured. So there's definitely more preparation that happened. We can see that she prepared to have this conversation. She was aware of her emotional intelligence when starting the conversation. There was an element of empathy, but also she stood firm. I think it was you, Anthony, that said assertiveness with a sprinkle of empathy. I think that was you, and achieved a better outcome. Great. I'd like to hear more. What's your impressions of that conversation? What do you think Harry's going to feel like now? Claire showed greater empathy, yet remained impartial and respectful of Harry's views. Gave her time more freely and listened to him. Absolutely, there was way more open questions. She shared her perspective. He may feel less wrong, heard and respected, Matt and Michelle. Thank you. Less wrong, hopefully, within time. Those things are not magic. It might take a bit of time and a lot of work, not only from her. It will depend on how she's going to deal with the other people as well. More able to share his concerns and more confidence, more balanced conversation, 100%. For the sake of time, I'm running out of time here. So the full session, we have a bit more time to explore this. And also we have a look on the flip side of this. We show how Claire is having conversation with the team members. So we explore that conversation as well live, and we find another way, because that's a very tricky conversation as well. I'm going to start to wrap up. Oh, Joanne, thank you. Much better conversation, and Harry will build confidence to deal with other issues in the future. 100%. We seen Bailey at the beginning, which was Harry, but now he was Bailey. In the full session, we have a look as well at Bailey's challenges within his teamwork, which is more around different ways of working between two different generations in the workplace. These days, people are talking a lot about how we have Generation Z and Millennials and X and Baby Boomers in the same place. So we have a look and preference and communication and what are the challenges that come into that. And we explore that in the full session. But thank you so much, Nina. I'll hand it back to Shona now to wrap it up. But thank you so much for your time. Oh, we have here as well an action planning. So at the end of the session, we do ask people to put some actions in place. What are they going to do differently from now on based on what we've seen in a 2.5 hour session? And then we talk about action and when they're going to do it. So there's a timeline, what the benefits and the consequences if they don't change that behavior. Thank you so much for your participation. We're going to have now 15 minutes to gather your feedback, which is extremely important for us. And also, we're going to be here, every one of us, to have a Q&A, any doubts or suggestions that you might have. Thank you.